Welcome in, welcome in a brand new video here on the Bet Karma YouTube channel. This is going to be your week 2 NFL survivor picks. This is a new video. I'm going to be doing this every Wednesday morning, Wednesday night. It should be out on Wednesday evenings or afternoons each week, going over survivor pool strategy and reviewing last week briefly, but mostly just talking about who I think are good survivor picks for week 2. I am going to share my screen here and pull up the live trends tool, which is a premium tool available via Bet Karma premium membership. I also want to apologize if anybody watched the DFS video yesterday. I wasn't aware of the kind of like lagging or whatever that was going on. I've tried to fix it, so hopefully it doesn't do it in this video. I did order a new Ethernet cable that's coming in tomorrow, so hopefully we will get it addressed. I wasn't aware of it when I recorded the video, but hopefully this video is good. I did mess with some stuff, so hopefully that fixed it. With that being said, if you guys don't know what a survivor pool is, if you're new, whatever, we'll just briefly touch on it. Survivor pool, basically, it's a giant, you buy into the pool. Each week you pick, each pool is different. It's very similar to like a March Madness pool. Some are single entries, some you can have multiple entries. You pick, the thesis of the pool is you pick one team each week to win their game. If they win their game, you move on to the next week. If they lose, you are eliminated from the pool. So the reason that I like playing survivor pools so much is because of how similar it is to March Madness. So if you guys have been around the Karma content scene for a while, you know that I have had a lot of success, Travis as well. We have had a lot of success betting on March Madness pools over the last 5 years. I've cashed the majority of my March Madness pools in 4 of the last 5 years. I have made quite a bit of money betting on March Madness pools. And the reason that I think that we have success is because of our background when it comes to DFS. A survivor pool, a March Madness pool is very much like you can very easily be attributed to daily fantasy. And it's like a tournament, and it's like it very much depends on what size of pool you're playing. If you're playing a large field, 1,000+ entry pool, the strategy is much different than if you're playing a smaller office pool with 50 to 100, 200 people. The strategy also changes if it is a single entry pool or if you have multiple entries into this contest. So it's basically a giant math problem, and it's why I think that we've had so much success in March Madness pools, and it's why I think you can have success in these types of survivor pools, because people don't look at it like this. They simply log on Sunday morning. They're like, oh, I think the Steelers are going to win this week. They pick it, and they move on. A lot of people are not doing the kind of game theory that is needed to have success in these contests. So we're going to kind of try and bring that weekly, bring that aspect to it, and make some picks. Hopefully we move on and we win our pools at the end of the year. So hopefully you made it through week 1 in your survivor pools. Most people did. The most popular picks were the Washington Commanders, who won, and the Baltimore Ravens, who won. So typically, a lot of times I would say in week 1, you see a really big chalky play lose. That's happened in quite a few recent years. That didn't really happen in week 1. Now, I will say Minnesota Vikings were a popular pick depending on pool size. They could, they were between 12 and 20% in some of these pools. So the Minnesota Vikings were a big chalk, not a chalk bomb, but they were a bomb in week 1. So hopefully you didn't take them. I would never have advocated for taking them. I actually, if you guys are following along in the Discord, the Bet Karma picks that I make, I actually bet on Tampa Bay +6 last week. I thought they had a very good chance to win that game, which they did. With that being said, we will talk about this week. So last week, I'm going to use basically my main survivor pool for this video. And like I said, the strategy definitely changes depending on what pool you're playing. So keep that in mind. And if you're playing a larger field pool, it's more rewarding to fade the chalk early on, I think. If you're playing in a smaller office pool, something like that, or one where you have multiple entries, I think you can play it differently. So my main pool is I like to play March Madness and Survivor pools typical to the types of DFS contests I like to play. So I like to stick with the smaller field pools. My main pool that I'm in this year, there's about 150 people, I would say, and you can have 5 max entry. So there's like 100. I don't know how many total entries there are. I think there was like 300 total, but there's not that many people. Most people have 1 or 2 entries. You can pick up to 5. So I have 4 entries in this pool. Last week I picked 2 Baltimore Ravens, 2 Washington Commanders. All 4 moved on. So in this week, I think that the chalkier picks. This is a very helpful tool. This is the first tool I look at, this live trends page every single week. So hopefully you guys sign up for Betcomer Premium and you access this tool. I think the chalkiest picks this week are going to be the Buffalo Bills, the Dallas Cowboys, and the New York Giants. I think those are going to be probably the 3 highest owned picks when we get to the weekend. So Buffalo, I know they looked terrible in that week 1 game against the Jets. Josh Allen, like 3-4 turnovers. They lost to a Zach Wilson led Jets team. They didn't look very good, but they are at home here. Raiders were in Denver for a road game and then now traveling cross country to Buffalo for this game. Buffalo, 8.5 point favorites on the spread, minus 380 here, minus 400 depending on the book on the money line. So Buffalo, I think, will be a very popular pick. The Dallas Cowboys, I mean, it's obvious. New York Jets traveling to Jerry World. Zach Wilson will be commanding the offense. Zach Wilson looked absolutely horrible in that Monday night game. Literally couldn't complete a forward pass. The majority of his passing yards came off of screen plays. He looked lost. It was very concerning, I think, if you're a Jets fan, how he looked. The defense is good, but the defense is not going to get 4 turnovers every single week. Now they're going to be, Dallas is just Dallas defense is waiting for Zach Wilson to get off that plane this weekend. So I do think Dallas will be very popular. And then we have the New York Giants who face the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona played better than I think most people expected. I mean, Washington, if you picked Washington in your survivor pools last week, that was a sweat. I think Arizona played harder than people expected, but ultimately talent does win out at the end of the day. They're just not a very talented NFL team at the moment. So I think the Giants will be pretty popular to minus 258 on the money line. They are minus 5.5 point favorites on the spread, even though the game is in Arizona. I'll also toss in the 49ers here. The 49ers could be a popular pick just based off of the spread. They're around 7.5, 8 point favorites, minus 345 on the money line. They play the Los Angeles Rams. A big storyline coming into week 2 will be Kyle Shanahan's success in games he coaches against Sean McVay. San Francisco, since Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay have started coaching these teams, San Francisco has a very, very good win-loss record against the Los Angeles Rams. Shanahan has had McVay's number. So I think that'll be a storyline coming into week 2, and I do think people will pick San Francisco as well. So I think those are the 4 teams that most people will be selecting in their survivor pools. I personally want to save the Dallas Cowboys. So I'm not going to be I don't think I'm going to be taking Dallas. I do think of all the teams playing this week, there's really no such thing as safe in the NFL. The NFL is the hardest sport to bet on. It's the hardest sport to win in. It's very, very there's a lot of noise when it comes to NFL games, and just one random play here and there can dictate outcome of games. So it's very random sometimes. I do think if we picked out just the safest team to win, it would be the Dallas Cowboys. I have zero faith in that Zach Wilson offense. They have Nathaniel Hackett calling plays, who Aaron Rodgers has bailed out multiple times in his career. I think Nathaniel Hackett is not a good coach. Zach Wilson is not a good quarterback. And that Jets offensive line against Dallas's defensive line I genuinely fear for Zach Wilson in this game. So I think if you wanted to just straight pick the safest team and you just want to get to next week, you probably go with Dallas Cowboys. The problem with doing that, especially if you're in a larger pool, I don't think there's cases to be made for both sides of the coin, but I don't think that's a winning strategy long term, especially if you're in a larger pool. Because if you're in a larger pool, the bigger your pool size is, the farther you're going to have to go to win the pool. And what happens is if you just take the safe pick each week in the beginning of the season, you really put yourself at a disadvantage when you get to the end of the year and you're relying on terrible teams to win football games, especially in the current state of the NFL, where sometimes we get to the end of the season and these teams don't want to win. They want a better draft pick. So I just don't think that's a good strategy. I would much rather be contrarian early and play myself in to where I can use better teams later on in the year. That is my strategy in these pools. Especially if it's a large field, 1,000+ person entry type of survivor pool. So with that being said, I want to save the Dallas Cowboys. They have really easy winnable games later on in the year, and I want to save them for those, I think. The same for me can be said for the San Francisco 49ers. They have multiple games upcoming against the Arizona Cardinals, and they have a couple other games I think they could win as well. So that's a team that I would like to save for later on in the year. So San Fran, I think for me is out. Dallas, I think for me is out. If you came to this video, you just want the safe pick, you can take Dallas, but I'm probably personally for my picks, Dallas is out, San Fran is out. So that basically comes down to the Buffalo Bills and the New York Giants, or we could take a flyer on one of these other teams. So how I would look at this is I think the Bills are a good pick. I do think the Bills win this game. Like I said, Raiders traveling cross country, Bills coming home after just an abysmal loss of what they had last week. And it wasn't like they had to travel far. I mean, they were just up in New York City. So not traveling far. They're coming home, Raiders cross country. They're going to be mad about how they played. I don't think Josh Allen's going to turn the ball over like he did last week. So Buffalo, very, very strong pick for me this week. The same, I think, can be said for the Giants. It is a little riskier because they're on the road, and it's a little bit of a shorter week because they played on Sunday night. But I think the same can be said. They're going to be mad based off how they performed in that Sunday night game primetime. They got absolutely shellacked by the Dallas Cowboys. They're going to be angry about that. They're going to want to win this game. I do think they have a legitimate talent edge over the Arizona Cardinals. I don't think the game plan was great for the Giants coming into that game, but at the same time, the Giants didn't look bad. Like if you look at that score on paper, you're like, wow, the Giants got absolutely destroyed. But when you start to dig into it, yardage wise and everything, the Giants really didn't do that bad. They just had very untimely turnovers, and it started kind of from the first series of that game. When that kick got blocked in return for a touchdown, that started it all. Dallas had all the momentum, and it's tough for teams to recover from that. So I think the Giants are a very, very good pick this week. I do think they win this game, even though it's on the road. I don't love picking road teams in survivor pools, but Giants are firmly in play. So Buffalo and the Giants are probably my leaders in the clubhouse for teams I will be picking this week. If you want to get crazy, which sometimes you can be in pools that reward underdogs winning or stuff like that. Like I said, every pool is different. If you're playing in a 10,000 plus person pool and you really want to get crazy early on in the year, there are a couple teams I think we could take a look at here. So the first would be the Denver Broncos at home against Washington. Denver, another example. They played very poorly in week one. They lost outright to the Raiders. Sean Payton, I do have trust in him getting his team ready to play. I was not very impressed with them in week one, but they are at home here with Washington traveling cross country to Denver. Historically, Denver is a very, very good team early in the season, especially when they get those home games early in the season. They have historically been very, very good. And Denver, unlike if you look at the Bills, right, they are going to have multiple games upcoming that you think they can win. Especially they're going to have another game against the Jets. I know they just lost to the Jets, but they're going to have another game against the Jets that I think you could use them. And the New York Giants, they're going to play the Jets upcoming, I think. Actually, maybe they don't. I'm not sure. I looked at the Giants' schedule, and they do have a couple games that I liked. But I will say, coming into the season, I was a little bit lower on this Giants team as a whole. I picked for my pick of a team that made the playoffs last year that will miss the playoffs this year. I picked the New York Giants. So
for that's what it's worth, I would probably like to get the Giants out of the way, to be quite honest with you. But I think you could use Denver. They don't have a lot of games that I like upcoming in their schedule. They are decent favorites here, minus 175, minus 180, depending on the book. So you could choose to get them out of the way. If you want to get really, really risky, you could look at a team like the Colts. You could look at a team like the Chicago Bears. Chicago Bears are 3-point road dogs, but I think that people are going to be overvaluing this Tampa Bay team. I don't think this Tampa Bay team is good. Now, I don't think the Chicago Bears are very good either. This is another team that I was lower on coming into the season than consensus, but I don't think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are good. I don't think Baker Mayfield is good. The Minnesota Vikings gave that game away to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Vikings did Vikings things, and they choked that game away late. I think that this is overvaluing the Buccaneers coming back home. Obviously, a 3-point spread is close, so they're probably close to even. I think the Bears are an interesting kind of like upset pick. So, like I said, if you're playing in a small office pool, 50 to 100, 150 people, you're not really looking to pick teams like the Bears at this current state of the pool here in week 2. But if you're playing in a 10,000 plus person pool or something that's really big and you really want to take a swing and you have multiple entries, I think the Bears are one of the teams that we could look at. I do have a bet on the Bears +3 in that game. Colts, I think maybe you could take a look at as well. But overall for me, consensus for this week, Buffalo Bills, New York Giants, slight lean towards the Giants for me. But I'll give my updated thoughts in Discord this weekend. You can join the Discord for free. You won't have access to the premium channels, but you can get the free channels by going to betkarmachat.com. Download the BetKarma app for free in the App Store. Click the chat room link. You can get in that way as well. And I'll update my thoughts in there throughout the weekend. I'll be on the Saturday night stream here on the YouTube channel. We can talk about it then. And we'll also have the Sunday morning stream at 11 a.m. prior to lock. I'll talk about it then as well. But for me, right now, those are my picks. If you liked this video, please give it a like on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments if this is type of content and strategy that you guys would like throughout the rest of the season. Like I said, I will have these videos up weekly on Wednesday or Thursday morning. And hopefully we have some success and we can win our survivor pools this year. So good luck in week 2. And I'll see you guys next time.